like somebody got, let's see, where are you hiding that? There we go. Ugh. Good morning, everybody. Working on today, I think I'm going to do another Lion Decker copy. That's what this is from Lion Decker over here. So I thought we would do that. We're a little bit behind, of course. You know, forget my coffee over there. And yeah, so that's kind of the plan, I think, for today. So let's see if I can do it down here. I have a camera over my desk that's streaming over to those other channels, so just moving it into position. Everybody familiar with Lion Decker, I hope, right? One of the great early 20th century American illustrators. Good morning, people popping in. It's always nice to draw other people's work, especially when they're really good. Good morning, everybody popping in. How are we doing? Looks like we're getting another snow day here, so classes have been moved online. And we'll see how that affects things today, because we've got a ton of stuff to talk about. It's not like it's a work day. All-time favorite artist. Ooh, that's a tough one. I have different kind of categories of art I look at. So, in terms of like fine art, I tend to like a lot of the old masters, but of the living artists today, there's like a handful of people whose work I really, really like. People like Vincent Desiderio and Stephen Assail. Niccolo Verlato comes to mind, Margaret Boland. In terms of painters who are alive, those are like some of my favorites. They led me to go into the grad school that I went to for painting. And um, so that's why I did that. And historically, though, I tend to like the Baroque era painters. So people like Velázquez and Rembrandt and Rubens and those individuals. So of the painters, and then of concept artists and illustrators and things like that. I'm always a sucker for early 20th century American illustration. People like Leyendecker or Howard Pyle. Um, um, Dean Cornwell, all those kind of early 20th century American illustrators I really, really like. Contemporary illustrators, I like probably my favorite, and someone I know, is Donato Giancola. He's a New Yorker illustrator, and I've always been like a super fan of his work. Took a class from him online a few years ago, and that was worthwhile, for me. Kind of get to meet him. Um, I mean, Sid Mead. Oh, yeah, he's great. We were looking at his work with my students. So that's for concept artists. In that category, I definitely have to put Sid Mead. People like him and Ralph McQuarrie at the top of the list for those guys. Um, it's like I also like what's his face, Ian McCaig a lot. His work has definitely had a big impact on things, storytelling and all that. But but yeah, Sid Mead. I've got some Sid Mead books here. I have his movie stuff. I have his RGB books, which are kind of like larger format but smaller thickness book series that he did. I feel like I might have met him once. I'm trying to remember. There was I think it was him at a lecture once at my undergrad. He did a presentation or something for the engineering department. But Sid Mead's, of course, incredible. He's one of the people I think you look at him and his work is the kind that people are still kind of referencing in film and games and other media. That I try to make my students aware of, that there's there's certain people whose impact goes pretty far in terms of their influence over other people. But yeah, definitely Sid Mead for sure. I think who else is good? There's a lot of current ones that I really like. I enjoy their work. Like Darren Bartley, the Fight Punch guy. He does a lot of cool stuff. In terms of contemporary, there's always people like Craig Mullins who are really great concept artists. Um, Trying to think who else would be good, worth mentioning. I mean, see who's on my bookshelf over here. Well, there's Doug Chang, of course, but he's really kind of a, someone who followed in the footsteps of a Ralph McQuarrie. Oh yeah, Hayashida. Yeah, I'll write that down over there. But I'd say Miyazaki is a really great concept artist, right? So he does a lot of his own concept art for his films. I don't know that he does all of it, but he does a lot of it. He does watercolors and other things. Um, Oh, hello over there on Kick. Sorry, just saw your posts over there. Zara. I'll have to look up Hayashida. I'm always looking for kind of interesting stuff. Especially things I can like share with my students. um, yeah, but I was thinking about it because we were looking at some of this work by Leyendecker with a group of my students the other day, and realized I've never really done any sketches of his work, even though I probably should have a long time ago. I'm a big believer in doing copy studies. Hello, hello. I think they make a big difference for artists and kind of good ways to expand your visual vocabulary. And that's what some of these live streams have been about. Actually, a lot of them recently. The study ones anyway. Where I'll take an art book that I have and copy the drawings from it. So recently, I finished up the just did what was I going to say about copying? But I was copying the other books. I finished up copying Tara Whitlatch's book not too long ago, a month ago, I guess now. Yeah, so this is from a book. Well, it's not a book, but it's from one of J.C. Leyendecker's illustrations. Similar to what I was doing before. And real big believer in what it does for artists in terms of developing aesthetics and skill and ability to look at things. Yeah, I think there's art books for those, right? I think I saw one for Elden Ring. Um, I should play Dark Souls. I've got Dark Souls 2. I just haven't gotten around to getting into it. I get so busy with other things. Like I spent 2 years basically, 3 years, well 4 or 5 actually if you count the research phase. Um, Converting my car, my SUV, into a micro camper. Um, yeah, well, it's like I've got so many art books. If you look behind me, like in the room I'm in, I've got a bookshelf just full of like mostly illustration focused work up here, and then downstairs, kind of more in the painting area, I've got just a ton of books about painters. It's an orange pencil. This is just a pencil holder. This is orange lead, 2 millimeter. It's from Statler, and then I like to use these little sharpeners for that. So you drop it in here and spin it around, which sharpens it up real nice. And these mostly you see these with like the Statler ones you can get at art supply store. There are other colors out there, so I picked up an orange one. I've got red ones and blue ones and black, along with the regular pencil leads. But yeah, I like using these colored pencils a lot. I might whip out the inking tools for this one instead of the pencil ones. Yeah, but yeah, so if you find work, hello there on Kick. Um, Maybe I'll just go with the pencil. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. So yeah, I like these quite a bit. They have other ones in. Actually, I should probably get some 0.5 millimeter orange lead if I can find it. Yeah, Eclipse Studio Paint. I did some paintings in that recently. I'm trying to finish up a concept project with a bunch of digital stuff, and I don't know, I might back off on doing a lot of digital work. It's kind of getting to the point where I really don't like getting on the computer as much. Um, a taxi strike motorcade, huh? Yeah, but I always appreciate Leindecker's meticulousness. He's a really great example of someone who studied pretty extensively. 22 minutes in, huh? I think we'll go with the ink. Get in there with some ink. Yeah, I was hoping to do like a bunch of figure drawings on here, but I was getting yelled at by some of the other streaming services, and so I had to kind of back off of that in here. But yeah, um, yeah, yeah. I've been doing digital for a long time. Like I started doing that when I was in college, back in like 20, probably like 20, probably maybe even early, probably like year 2000 or something. Um, Early, even maybe 1997, when I was doing not really painting, but I was using Illustrator, as a freshman in college, in the 2D design class, and that was kind of new back then. Um, but you're going on strike. That seems like a long. You might want to give up on a strike that takes 22 years, right? Um, so yeah, but I kind of when I was in school, digital was like brand new. You know the I got my Wacom tablet had a 7-pin connector. It wasn't there was no USB. I've got a stack of old zip disks. Um, but what was I going to say? But yeah, so yeah, digital. Yeah, I've been doing it a long time, but like all of my professors were traditional artists, except for one who was an adjunct instructor. He worked as an art director at a video game company. He's a professor now at a community college in Salt Lake, Don Siegmiller. And he actually wrote some books on digital painting that came out when I was a student, for using Corel Painter, which used to be more popular. But still around. I've got the 2019 version on my computer. It has a really unique kind of painting engine and all that good stuff, and I've always liked it. But but it's definitely a program that's on its way out. Like it's not. But it used to be one of like the two popular digital painting programs. Hmm. Um, but yeah, so for me, it was like this kind of really interesting thing where I was learning a ton way back then. Um, yeah, it was kind of an interesting skill, and something the professors didn't know that much about, and I was learning a lot about it just because it was so new. Um, but yeah, it was interesting. But lately, just kind of uh, a lot less interested in doing digital stuff as much as I was before. Digital sculpting is fine. I like doing that. It's kind of fun. But um, there's like a lot of like specific kinds of uh, traditional skills that really weren't covered that deeply when I was a student. So things like this inking I'm doing right now, because most of my professors were traditional illustrators in the sense that they did book covers and editorial and children's book and all that, and those are all great. Like they did, they definitely knew their, for the most part, knew their stuff. There's one exception, um, but um, but yeah, they were more like acrylic and oil painting, which is good. I like doing all that. Definitely got a lot of that. But there wasn't like a class like where we really learned like ink drawing or ink rendering, or there weren't any comics classes for sure. Um, just didn't exist. And they had a very particular kind of program. And I'm definitely we're kind of reworking. So I teach at a university full time. That's mostly what my day job is, and um, but one of the things I've been working on for the last year is kind of revamping the entire curriculum, and I was given the opportunity to kind of design an illustration track within the school, and kind of taking a look at things that I think could have been better for my own education. Trends I'm seeing in the markets in terms of where student interests are and professional potential outcomes are, and I think that I think what we could put together could be really, really good. Um, it's like one of the things that I wasn't really taught in school was perspective, and what's funny is it's not really that bad or that hard to learn, and I'm not sure why like the perspective we were taught, wasn't very deep. It's something I've learned since graduation. From I had the opportunity to take an intensive perspective course in my graduate program, but didn't. I took a composition class with a different painter, but but I've had to teach it since, and it's not it's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the most difficult thing in the world. You're really doing like the same kind of thing over and over. Um, so, but I found it, now that I know how to do it, like it's made a big difference for things that I do. I found for students when they learn perspective, it kind of changes how they see. Um, Especially if they're students that have like a hard time with representational drawing. That by learning it, but by doing it, I found like it kind of fixes a lot of their mistakes, and so. Um, yeah, so I'm just surprised it's not taught. I know it can be challenging, but it's not the most like exciting subject. Um, but another kind of class that had a big impact on me when I was in grad school was the copy class. So I had a class at my grad school where we would go to the museum, the Met Museum, Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, where I was a student at the New York Academy, and we would do master copies in the museum. So I'd set up an easel in front of, for my case, Rembrandt and Peter de Hoch and others. A2, huh? At the big paper. Should get some A1 paper if you can find it, right? But kind of like this nib. Switching to drawing in sideways mode. I think it works really well on this paper too. Yeah, so, but that's those are some of the kind of the more impactful things I've done since graduation. One was the perspective stuff, the master copy stuff, and I wish I'd started doing master copies a lot earlier. I would occasionally do them a little bit when I was a student, and looking back, I did them a lot when I was like a teenager. I'd copy comic book pages and things like that from Jim Lee or whoever. But yeah, so yeah, if you're like any kind of autodidact or someone who likes to learn on your own, I would definitely put copying like at the top of the list of things you do. because it just makes a huge difference to closely examine, the work that you like, and kind of figure out what about it is impactful for you. Um, yeah, it's kind of interesting. I saw a video that I heard about the controversy, but hadn't really looked too much at it. But the ARC, Art Renewal Center, they have like an annual contest with pretty sizable cash prizes for the winners that get selected. And it's kind of this classical art association started by this guy who's, I guess, at least moderately wealthy, Fred Ross. But they have this annual contest where people submit like classical artworks that are, created using mostly 19th century techniques. That seems to be where they're mostly focused. And but they had a contest. Anyway, there was one of their kind of main, I don't know if she was like the top winner, but she was one of their upper level people. And she put in this piece, and it kind of won these awards as part of this show. But when people looked at the work when it was posted online, it was obviously an AI generated image. She did submit an actual painting eventually because it won a purchase award. But when the painting arrived, it was different than the image that had been uploaded. I mean, if you look at the AI image, though, it's pretty obviously not a painting. It's an AI generated image. And you go look at her portfolio, and it's all AI imagery. And so that was a bit of a controversy that was brought up by Donato Giancola, because he pointed it out. I haven't really paid that much attention to that group in a long time, but I was really interested when it first popped up. When I was a student, because yeah, this is cool stuff. This is real art. But but anyway, but it was pretty obvious just on the face of it, just seeing this piece of art. And I saw this video. I forget the guy's name. I looked it up the other day, but he did this video where he kind of did a deep dive into it. And this was after I noticed something, because I picked up a subscription to Plein Air magazine just because I'm looking to get back into that, and I wanted to see what competitions are out there, and they kind of touted themselves as being a good hub for figuring that out. But I noticed at the end of it that the ad, especially at the back of it for a different magazine, that it's like a sister magazine, it's clearly an AI generated image. And anyways, but I'm watching this video by this guy who was talking about this this ARC competition, and he's pointing out that all the judges in this supposedly classically oriented competition, most of them are not painters. And one of them, a guy named Anthony Wychulis, is known for teaching photorealism, copying photos as a painting method, basically. and but all of them are like supportive of generative AI for art, like all of them. So the guys that run these magazines, they use it all the time apparently. Talked about it publicly. Um, which I didn't realize until I picked up that magazine. But anyway, it turns out that even the painter, like Anthony Wychulis, he's been come out publicly and been somewhat supportive of AI generated imagery, because he doesn't really care about the creative imagery. He's more about just copying. Um, but yeah, it goes through the whole thing. And it's like all these people that are involved with this organization are boosters for these generative AI systems. Um, that that they're really not that interested in classic art. I was looking at the magazine there, and they've got these monthly competitions and things like that that cost some money, but yeah, it's just kind of sad, to look at that and say, oh, here's this organization that you would think would understand what the problems are with it, that deeply kind of personal connection to your work should be mediated by these impersonal manipulated algorithms. um, so yeah, it was just kind of interesting to see how that all was like shaking out, because I hadn't really looked that closely at it, but this guy did a deep dive on his video in terms of explaining what's happening. Um, yeah, so it was interesting to kind of see that perception going on. I know it's also one of them, Casey Baugh, who's kind of a realist painter. He's pretty much scrubbed his social media, because it's obvious like some of the pieces that he had gotten into this show were AI generated, or at least based on AI imagery. Like there's a guy who's basically painting. He's playing a trumpet that's like melting into the floor, or it's not a trumpet, it's more like a trombone sort of. It's not a real one, but it's like missing all the mechanics, and it doesn't function properly. And he's someone I haven't followed in a long time. He was kind of an acolyte of a guy named Richard Schmid, whose art book I definitely recommend. Richard Schmid, but um, he's passed away. Been a while now. I think probably like 2012 or 14 or something. It's been a while. But this Casey Baugh guy, we kind of studied a lot with him. But his paintings had kind of that flavor from that artist, from Richard Schmid, but they were obviously like painted directly from like like almost like supermodel photo shoots, and they had like that. There's a I call it like a smell when a painting feels like it's a photograph. Like it doesn't, like there's not been enough translation or interpretation of the photo. It's just like a straight replication of the photo, and they always have like a certain smell to them to me that I don't like. It's like like it feels like it's from something else rather than the thing itself. If that makes any sense. Um, but I unfollowed him a long time ago just because his work would just kind of make me a little bit sick inside. Yeah, well, there's a famous guy, right, who does that a lot. I forget his name. He like ripped off pornos and Playboys and all that stuff. But but anyway, this guy like the painting is really like the paint is pretty solid for this Casey Ba guy. But I guess it's pretty clear he's been using AI imagery for his paintings recently. And if you look at his Instagram and his socials and that his website, it's like all been scrubbed like completely. And which I imagine that's the major reason why. Um, which again, it's someone I haven't really paid that much attention. I think all of his stuff sells. Like he's a a profitable, popular painter, but I've never really liked his work. Kind of liked it originally, and then kind of like after a while, I was like, this is just kind of making me sick. Um, um, yeah, and so I talked to another artist recently. I won't say who, but he was telling me that I would be shocked by who in the comic book industry is using AI very directly. Like they're just tracing stuff off or cleaning it up. That no one knows yet that they're doing it. That they've been able to hide it successfully. And it's funny because like if you think it's like a good thing, then why hide it, right? Like be out in the open about it. Do your thing. But because like I don't want anything. The more I learn about kind of how it affects people, and not just like the theft and all that annoying stuff, but like how it affects your creativity, your ability for independent thinking, your competence at anything. Like I want nothing to do with it at all. It's like we have enough problems with incompetence. I don't need to add myself to that stack. So, I get a little crowd in here. I haven't had this many people in one of these in a while. Let's see anybody commenting in the other streams, but it's nice to see everybody here this morning. But let this dry and touch it up a little bit. Yeah, I think collaging is fine. I liked it. I've been there's a plugin for Blender that I like called Quick Tools. It's put together by Jama Jurabayev, who's a very popular concept artist. Does a lot of 3D stuff. I kind of noticed him back when he was doing a lot of grease pencil stuff in Blender. But But anyway, they have this tool called Quick Texture, and it's a way of like it quickly throws on really rough texture UVs onto 3D models, and but you know, so you can grab whatever imagery you want and stick it on there, and but I've been gradually like putting together my own texture reference library. I used to have an older one that I would use all the time, but I like using my own stuff when possible. Yeah. So yeah, photo reference I think is very helpful. This is different though. Like this Casey Baugh guy, like he's painting it to look photographic to a certain degree. Like it feels like he's just like tracing it off onto a canvas and then kind of, it's almost like he's applying a photo, like a painting filter to the paint. And yeah, so that's the difference though. Like where it feels like it's from a photo rather than referencing a photo. So I'm all for photo reference. Prefer drawing from life, but I like photo reference too. But where something feels like it's just it feels like you've done a filter over a photo. So, but yeah, so that's where I kind of take issue with things. So let's see, Lion Decker. I'm gonna call it morning here. I need to exercise and get ready for class. And today is the 19th, right? So, appreciate everybody came in, conversating, etc. And hopefully see everybody tomorrow morning first thing. So just closing up my jars here and putting my toys away. Put that up there and this over here and that there and put this up here. And we're done. So catch y'all later. Appreciate it. And bye.